Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 104 of SDGC. As always, I am one of your hosts, John, at Mr. Negative on Twitter. I know that I said that Jeff was going to host tonight. He's going to be hosting next week because he just had a bunch of stuff going on and he couldn't make it tonight.
What a terrifying thought that is.
You know what?
We have a full week to prepare ourselves for the madness.
I know.
You guys should just agree to let Saki host one episode.
I'll tell you what. You know what? I'm going to make a pledge to you right now. Okay? If I after the podcast, I will tweet out hashtag let Saki host. If it gets 100 retweets, I will literally let Saki host the podcast.
That's a tall order.
Let's just make it like 20. So like
no, because the last time I let Jeff host, he needed 100 retweets and he got them. So I know
That's
he can.
fair.
I know we
That's
can do
fair.
this.
You gotta hold.
So
Saki to
so
the
if
same
Saki,
standard.
We'll blow through 50.
If Saki can get, if hashtag let Saki host gets 100 retweets, I will let Saki host the next episode of SDGC. That is my pledge to you right now. I immediately regret this decision.
Making a strong case for herself right now.
I immediately regret this decision. This was a terrible idea. I take it all back. Good idea.
No. Easy 100 retweets.
So. Don't argue with the lawyer. Jesus Christ. All right. It's already starting in chat. Jesse says, "I will unfollow, mute, then block you if you let a sock host."
Well, that's an even bigger reason to let it happen.
We are happy that everybody is here. Hopefully it'll be Jeff hosting next week and not Saki. But as you can see, we've still got a good show for you. Matt Piscatella from NPD is joining us once again. It has been way too long since you've been on the podcast, my man, and we missed you, and we always love having you. So I almost forgot you were coming on again. I literally I've been so busy this week, I almost forgot you were coming on tonight.
I had to write down the calendar. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. It's really fun to be here. It's fun to be home. Been on the road a lot, so this is great. So thanks for having me again.
You've been working quite a bit, man. You've been working quite a bit. Well, I'll tell you what. So what we're going to do tonight is we're not going to really talk about news so much as a couple of topics that we came up with that we thought you guys might enjoy. We'll talk a little bit about what we've been playing this week. But as always, first, why don't we go ahead and hey, Finn, I know you guys are in the car. Can you go and mute that for me? Thank you, my man. Appreciate it. And stay muted the rest of the podcast. But I'm just kidding. But Matt, so we missed you for January's NPD. So why don't we go ahead and rectify that? Why don't you tell everybody what the NPD numbers were like and what it means for the industry? Because this is the most interesting NPD I think we've had in a long time.
Which is really weird because it's a January.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. You had a $1 billion or $1.1 billion month. Everything was up. Total sales up 60%. Hardware was up big. I mean, really the story this month is that PS4, Xbox One, and Switch are all selling well and selling within a few percentage points of each other.
That's wild.
So, and they're all doing great numbers. So it's not like they're all kind of mediocre. No, these are 3 boxes that are selling as well, like for the PS4 and X1, as well as any boxes this late into their cycles have. And, of course, the Switch is setting records. So we have 3 very successful consoles. We have a Monster Hunter game in the top spot.
That's pretty impressive.
A Dragon Ball game at number 2. Like, what the hell is even happening anymore?
I'm so happy about that. That's cool that those games can do so well,
Go
especially
Lord
in a month like
Yamcha.
January.
Well, and it's maintaining. Not to jump in, Matt, but and Dragon Ball Fighters is maintaining a pretty solid player base. Yeah, like it's not like a flash.
Did you just say Dragon Ball Fighters?
It's Dragon Ball Fighters. It's Dragon Ball Fighters, right?
You know,
Dragon Guard.
I'm like, what? It didn't sound like
Dragon Guard 3.
Dragon Guard. Yeah, it's
Dragon
Dragon Guard
Guard.
Fighters. It's actually the fighting game of all your favorite Dragon Guard characters and Nier characters.
All right,
People would buy that, actually.
Let's let the man continue, please, Matt.
I mean, those are the two biggest stories, and then just around the periphery, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, #2 seller on Xbox One, doing really good numbers. And the big question is, how much is that impacting the Xbox One sales versus just the price points and the promotions going on? I think it certainly doesn't hurt. So that's been kind of fun to watch. The Xbox One has had a tough go. But for the last 3 months in particular, it's been really strong. And you kind of have to wonder, like, okay, with all the announcements around Game Pass and Play Anywhere and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, like, okay, are they turning a bit of a corner? PlayStation 4 continues on its pace. Like, there's no slowing that train down. And games like Monster Hunter and Dragon Ball certainly appeal to that audience. And then Switch, I mean, you have games like Mario Kart 8 still in the top 10 sellers over the last 12 months.
Zelda is up there too, isn't it? Breath of the Wild?
Zelda and Mario. And so you have like this library of games that they can call on at any time. And you have such a wave of games coming on a weekly basis. Like, all three of these boxes have really positive things going for them. And what's interesting is that each of them have different things going for them and are appealing to different segments. So it's not just like everyone's fighting for the same audience. Like, these boxes are appealing to different folks, and everyone's finding good success right now. So it's really fun to watch. After like 8 years of just declines over the last year or two, we're seeing some really positive momentum, and that makes my job a lot easier. So it's been a lot of fun.
So, Matt, let me ask you this. Do we know what the split is on the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X?
I don't think it's public. I know that, Sony came out with their 1 in 5 number. 1 in 5 is a PS4 Pro. They came out with that. That's the ballpark, So those, 20-25% of boxes are these higher price iterative models. And
well, the X is outselling the Pro, right? So I imagine the split for the Xbox One X has got to be bigger, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know if those numbers are public either, and I'm actually not too sure which one's outselling which. But in general, I think the feedback to take away from is like, yeah, they're doing okay. Like, they're doing what they should be doing. And so what you have is a box that really caters to that leading edge, high end customer, and you have a box that families and mass market are gravitating towards. So it's great. Like, you have consoles that are appealing to multiple segments. I mean, you look at the results and you kind of go, okay, yeah, everyone's being really smart right now, and that's a good thing.
Before I open the floor for somebody else to ask Matt a question, because I want somebody else to ask, I do have another question. Or maybe not even a question, just to see if you agree with me. Like, everybody talked about what a turnaround the PS4 was when you look at how Sony handled the PS3, especially in the early stages of its life cycle. But I think the turnaround from the Wii U to the Nintendo Switch is even more impressive. And I wanted to see what you thought about that, whether or not I'm off track.
No, I don't think you're off track. I mean, the Switch has been again, it's set every kind of record. So the most console sales over the first 10 months in any console's life in history. Nice. Whether that pace can be achieved, be sustained or not, it's another question. Really good tie ratios, really good average pricing. They haven't had to discount at all. And you have this wave of games coming every week. You compare that to the Wii U. Oh my God, it's
God, the flood of games for the Switch has been absolutely insane.
Like, I don't think, just a side note, I don't think I ever thought, after going from N64, GameCube, Wii, and Wii U, that we would ever get to a spot where you would go, there's too many games coming out on a Nintendo.
Yeah, especially like with indies and everything. Like, indies are huge on Switch right now.
Oh my God! And what an interest. Brandon, I'm glad you mentioned that. What an interesting turnaround for indies this generation. Like, at the beginning of the generation, everybody was hailing the PS4 as the savior of indies, right? Like, this is the indie station. This is where all the indies are going, to live out their dreams. But that narrative over the past year has really seen a sudden and just dramatic shift.
I mean, everybody wants to be on the Switch. All the developers, like, they have way more incentive now. Like, people buy buy that stuff like hotcakes.
Well, there are some games, JT, and I can't. Matt, maybe you can refresh my memory as to which ones, but there are several indie games that have sold double on Switch what they have on other platforms combined, which just blows my.
Well, we
I
know
mean, you have
Blossom
awesome
Tales-
Like
looking games
Blossom
like
Tales.
yeah, you have games like Golf Story that are coming out only on Switch.
Yeah,
That look
Blossom
fucking amazing.
Blossom Tales. That was the one we had the developers on a little while ago. That game is thriving on the Switch.
And I think Blossom Tales sold twice as much as it had like on Steam the first day it was on
Yeah.
the Switch.
Yeah, the first day.
Yep.
That was nuts.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that just gets lost in the Steam library where it comes out with like how to make string cheese the game and like
yeah,
all
you
this
need
ridiculous
viral
like there's
attention to get
10
noticed
games
on
that
it.
are just trash that come out
Please tell me that's an
every day
actual
on
game.
Steam.
Is that an
Now, I
actual
have a
game?
question
Probably
for
is.
Matt regarding this topic.
Please.
What's that?
I have a question for you regarding the topic of indies on Switch and just the success Nintendo's seen with this. We all know, like, we're in the gold rush phase of that, where everyone's throwing their games on. When do you think we're going to hit a PS4 scenario where, at some point, there's just going to be too many indies, and you're going to start seeing the success stories trickle down to just the really true quality ones, as opposed to every single game on Switch sells well?
Yeah, I think it's the biggest threat that they're facing right now is that the gold. It's exactly what it is. It's a gold rush, and so you have so many titles coming to the platform. And if you look at the eShop, how it's structured, it's really not built for discoverability. You can kind of tell in the design that it's like, okay, we're gonna have a few games rolling through here, but it's not like we have to keep funneling things through a front page or really promote stuff. And what we're seeing are so many games coming every week that you have to wonder, like, how does the eShop as it is today really hold up over this like wave of games that are hitting it? I mean, you look at the GDC, the Game Developers Conference survey that just came out about the state of the games industry, and the developers that answered that survey, 1 in 3 of them say that they think the Nintendo Switch is the most interesting console on the market.
It is.
76% of them said that Switch games are selling at or above average across all platforms on which a game was launched. So you have like this overwhelming developer interest too, right? And so we're seeing that beginning of the gold rush now, but it's really this holiday where we're going to be seeing so many games come. Like, how is that sustainable, and how do people discover games that they might have missed, right? Which seems to happen to me on a weekly basis, and I really pay attention to this stuff. So yeah, I think it's going to be an issue, and we're going to see that become more. Like, it's a great problem to have, right? Like, too many
You
games.
need to
is a
get
good
someone
problem,
to play
but-
your game on Twitch or YouTube. It's basically.
Yeah.
It's really nice though for those that did believe in Nintendo enough to put their game on in the early times, because they really reap that benefit as opposed to the people that are scrambling afterwards. But yeah, I just like the PlayStation 4, because the PS4, like John said, was the indie haven for a while, but then too many, cooks in the kitchen. At some point, it's going to happen to Nintendo, but it doesn't look like anytime soon.
Yeah, but there are games.
Yeah.
I mean, there are games that just, I'll play them on PS4, and I know that they would feel better on the Switch, especially in handheld mode. A great example, and Finn, I know you'll agree, is Iconoclasts. I finished it on PS.
Switch?
I finished it on PS4. It's not on Switch, which is really surprising to me.
Oh, but you're saying it would be a perfect fit.
It would be a
for Switch.
perfect fit. Cosmic Star Heroine.
Oh yeah.
Cosmic Star Heroine.
Oh,
Brandon.
yeah.
Brandon, if you have not played Cosmic Star Heroine, you need to jump on that.
That's
in
actually
lieu
a
of a
good
good
game. I'll
PC
agree
port
with
of
that.
Chrono Trigger.
Well, hold on. I just want to point out that Jay and I just agreed on a game. I didn't want anybody to miss that. Want to make sure
We
that
agreed on a game, guys.
Just want to make sure that's clear.
But any RPG would be perfect. And actually, the first example of that for me, because I always have preferred my indies on PlayStation, or just console in general. Celeste was the first game I decided to choose on Switch over PlayStation, and I just foresee that trend extending into 2018 and beyond.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, like, when you hear about stories of games doubling their sales on the Switch, it gives me hope, because Zaboid Games tweeted out a little while ago that there is now a big chance that Cosmic Star Heroine is going to find its way to the Switch, and I really hope it does, because it did not sell well on.
I'm pretty sure I remember seeing the developer mention on Reset Era that he was working on a Switch.
Yeah, dude, that game could find a whole new audience and a new life on Switch. And dude, it is like Phantasy Star mixed with Chrono Trigger, and you should not pass it up.
I know it took him a while to port the Vita version, so he might be taking a break.
It's
So-
possible.
Oh no, yeah, maybe it was the Vita version.
It took them a while to port it over, so I feel
Yeah.
like we got a Switch version in probably like a couple more months.
Yeah,
but if you haven't
he-
played that game yet, you should play it.
Yeah, it's a fucking phenomenal game. If you
Yeah, I
like
liked
Phantasy
it a
Star
lot.
or Chrono Trigger, you need to play Cosmic Star Heroine. It has legitimately got one of the best battle systems in any RPG I've ever played, and that is not hyperbole. Does anybody else have a question for Matt about NPD stuff?
I have one more question for you, if you don't mind, Matt.
Sure.
And this is just because I love the concept of making you as an analyst predict the future, because it's always fun to see if you guess correctly or not. Do you think 2018 will be the year Switch gets its first price cut?
Ooh.
No. I don't think Switch gets a price cut until at least 6 months after Pokemon, whenever that is.
Okay.
So yeah, there's nothing in the data that suggests that anything like that is necessary or that a revision is necessary in any way. I'm sure you know, like Nintendo has a very long history of maintaining higher price points.
Yes.
For premium pricing. They believe in premium pricing. So no, this is the price. I mean they
can get away with it right now, though. I mean, people will pay it.
Yeah, and knowing Nintendo, they have a plan for content to come at a regular basis. You know, they're only talking about things now within a very short window versus the other guys who are announcing games, 2 years out. Nintendo's talking in like 3-month windows. And so like we have no idea what the plan is for the rest of the year, but they have the online service coming in Q3, which of course suggests that something will launch alongside the online service.
Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it has to be, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's
1,
a
2,
definite.
3.
I don't know, but I know, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
Pokemon
insider
is-
information confirmed. But no, I agree. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would say you'll see a huge reveal at E3 for Smash Brothers, and then you'll get that September release date. Because I'll tell you what, like after a year and a half of a free service, if any game was going to get people to pay for Nintendo Online, Smash Brothers is going to be the game that does it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pay.
And one other thing, like that's not being talked about a lot, that's happening with the Switch, right? So, the Switch is, as you'd imagine, carts are selling at a higher rate. It's like, so the physical rate on Switch is higher than it is for the other platforms. Limited onboard storage, plus Nintendo has a history of good physical sales. So, like when I'm doing my forecasting for the year and I'm looking at physical retail sales of video games. We had a slight increase last year for the first time since like 2008. And when you look at the dynamics of what's happening with Switch, you go, okay, not only is gaming as an industry doing really well, but now retail, like physical games, might grow by double-digit percentage this year. Like that's insane for 2018. So like, you start thinking about like the layers of the impact that Switch is going to have, not only on the development community, the kinds of games being made, but also on the market environment itself. Like, and you realize that what Switch is doing is having no negative impact at all to PS4 or Xbox One. It's like all new money to the industry.
Yep.
Shoot, man, you got to be really excited if you're into this kind of thing, or if you're into the health of the industry as a whole. You have to be excited and optimistic about what's going on right now.
When I think that this is kind of subverting everybody's expectations too, right? Because I mean, this is about the time in the generation when things start to wind down. But it seems like things are ramping up, which is you don't see very often. I want to point out one thing. Hey Julian, what's up, man? Both Finn and Brad mentioned Pokemon in chat, like on top of each other, and I just want to clarify if. I think we can all agree there's a Smash game dropping this year, but if the rumors are true and there's also that mainline Pokemon game dropping this year, holy shit. Like, I mean, that is one hell of a 1-2 punch. And
I think they're translating it right now.
Yeah, that was
actually.
the rumor. That was the rumor. I saw the era thread on that they were
What
localizing
about
it right now.
Animal Crossing?
I think you're going to get an announcement for Animal. I think the writing's on the wall. I think you're going to get an announcement, but I don't think it hits this year. I think
I
that's
think
too
Animal
much.
Crossing is 2000. I think Animal Crossing is 2019.
I agree.
Based on Nintendo's for the past few years proclivity towards debuting and announcing a game and then focusing their entire E3 show on that game, I really think Pokemon will be that game this year, and then it'll be a holiday.
That's a possibility. Yeah. I mean, it's Pokemon.
it's possible.
It's an event. Pokemon's an event.
So I'll
the
tell
first
you,
console Pokemon game, like the first real.
Yeah, this is the
Pokemon
first
game?
console Pokemon. Like, imagine, I'll tell you right now, if Pokemon launches this year, Metroid Prime 4 and Animal Crossing are next year. But if it doesn't, if we don't get confirmation of Pokemon at E3, I think either Animal Crossing or Metroid Prime 4 hits in December. That's what I think.
Good.
It might. I mean, I think what they're going to do, and what they always do, they do such a good job of at Nintendo is aligning their release slate to really maximize the market opportunity. So if, like, say for example, if they do a Smash, right? And I have no idea if they will or not, but if they do one and it really hits, you know, then maybe that plan changes a little bit about what's coming after, right? So they're really good at maximizing what they're putting out there. So I imagine that they're going to be able to adapt to whatever happens. So it's just going to be really fun to watch. That slate of IP, like the new stuff, plus they have all the Wii U stuff they can bring, and it's like new. I mean, what a nice like pseudo benefit of the Wii U being what it was, is like now you have all these games that no one's really played, and you can bring those out anytime you want. Like,
Well,
wow,
Wonderful
it's amazing.
101 when?
Oh my god,
Yeah,
dude! I would
right?
love that port. I would love that port. I think, I think the most likely ports this year, now that we know about Tropical Freeze, I think you're going to see Wind Waker HD, and I think you're going to see Twilight Princess HD. I think those are a lot.
Wind Waker HD.
HD Deluxe, HD DX. I think
Wind
you're going to see
Waker
that.
4K.
I 100% agree with Brandon that Wonderful 101 is going to be ported. I think that's a
No,
no-brainer.
I don't think it will be.
I think it will be, dude.
I just think it would be
definitely will not be ported.
I think
Yeah,
it
What
will.
about Kirby Battle Royale?
No,
Did you say Kirby Battle Royale?
The chat. No.
That's actually something I didn't know I wanted.
I'm
It's-
in that. I'm into that.
It's a shitty 3DS game. It's not very good. We should also point out briefly that it sounds like PS4 is going to have a strong year as well. With you got God of War, and now Detroit is coming out on May 25th, but unfortunately that's Dark Souls Day, so sorry. And I gotta stick with what I know. Spider-Man is ostensibly getting a release date this year. I don't know if the year is going to be as strong for Xbox, but we also don't know a whole lot about what they have coming out aside from Sea of Thieves, which I'm a lot more bullish on than I used to be. And,
I think Xbox this year is gonna be very interesting to look at, since they're really pushing towards the services this year. Like, I feel like this is like the first year we're like, hey, we're going all in on the services. So
I think
feel
this is
like
going to be the
Xbox
make or
is
break
gonna
year for Game Pass. I think if Game Pass is a home
Yeah.
run, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know, like I don't really look at numbers, but like I feel like looking at Xbox numbers this year is gonna be like different than it's been like previous years, just because you'll probably have more people adopt into the Game Pass service rather than like buying the games outright new.
I agree with that.
I mean, there's probably quite a few of us just for this podcast that are going to hop on the Game Pass just because it's such a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's $10 and you
back
can see
catalog
it for
plus
a
you get
month.
Sea of Thieves.
I mean, honestly, that is what will drive me to buy an Xbox this year. Is that right there?
Yep.
Yeah, and like I've had Game Pass for a couple months, and like I enjoyed it. I was able to try out some games I wanted to try out and see if I liked them or not.
Don't you mean another Xbox?
Yes, another Xbox. Yeah. Yeah, I sold my first one because I never played it. But we've actually got a question in chat from Midi. She wants to know the chances of Xenoblade Chronicles being ported to Switch. 0.
Oh, please.
0. But I do think there's a high chance of Xenoblade Chronicles X being ported. I think that is a far more likely.
Yeah,
port.
that seems likely. Xenoblade X.
Which is
You know what I
fine
would
because I haven't played X, but I want the first one so bad just because like I want it portably, but not in like
Too bad you're only getting it on 3DS.
127p.
I tried so hard, man, dude. I tried so hard to play it on 3DS, but it was so ugly. I couldn't get and I'm not a graphics whore at all, but
I mean, so whenever I started playing it on the new Nintendo 3DS XL, it was I was it was fine camp. I played a couple Switch games since then, and then I tried to go back to that like right after Breath of the Wild, and it wasn't happening.
Let's
Like,
say-
It's not fun.
Speaking
It,
of speaking
it's
of
rough.
speaking of playing stuff, let's before we talk about our first topic, which we got two really cool topics tonight for you guys. Let's dive quickly into what we've been playing this week.
How long should each person get? Like how many minutes?
Uh,
Like 3?
So I know that Brandon has played
13.
nothing but Overwatch.
This is true.
So I doubt Brandon will even say anything.
Well, I want to hear about the new hero.
Bridget, she's not out yet. She's only out on
Brigitte. It's Brigitte.
Brigitte?
Oh, really?
I thought it was Bridget. Brigitte.
She was named by Reinhardt, the German guy. So he gave her a German name. That's it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool.
I thought she was
She's
Torbjorn's
Swedish.
daughter.
Yeah, she's the daughter of Torbjorn, so she is Swedish, but she was named by a German guy.
Okay,
That's-
all right.
The deepest
How-
lore.
No, how does that work? Like, why?
Oh,
why was-
because Reinhardt, earlier when Overwatch was still a thing, I guess Reinhardt saved Torbjorn's life in some mission. So Torbjorn let him name his daughter.
I want
That's
you to like spend an entire podcast telling me the story of
The
Overwatch
deepest lore of
from the
Overwatch.
very start all the way to what we know now.
I haven't read all. I don't know
I
everything.
need
I haven't read all the
links.
comics. I've only seen the videos.
I would
and
actually tune in
I
and
need
listen to Brian.
I need the links to all the good Overwatch fan art that you have saved on your book.
I do not have any Overwatch fan art. However, there is a good thread on Era.
I'll tell you what though, I'm just calling her Bridget because that's too much bullshit. Bridget's character design is dope, by the way. Blizzard
Yeah,
does the
she
best
looks-
character design.
Like a little bit like Reinhardt. Well, she's Reinhardt's squire,
Yeah,
so she follows him around and
it's so
I
good.
saw like a little clip of her gameplay, and she looks really fun, like a speedier Reinhardt.
yeah, she's a tanky support. So she heals the team, but she also kind of runs in with the hit. She's like the paladin from Diablo, so she's got a shield.
That's
it's
exactly
like
what she reminds me of. Yep.
yeah, it's like Reinhardt's shield, but it's only big enough to cover her. And then she has a flail, so she just runs in with her shield and just bashes people with her flail. And every time she hits someone with the flail, she heals her team a little bit. Stuff like that's basically it. She provides the team armor like Torbjorn.
All right, why don't we jump into what we've been playing?
Let's just do 3 minutes so we can get to the topics tonight.
Let's just do 3 minutes. JT, why don't you start, man? I know you were excited about what you wanted to talk about.
Ooh, I play way too much, so I'm only going to talk about 2. And they are kind of obscure. One came out recently, and the other ones just came out a couple weeks ago. So, first one I will talk about is Into the Breach by the makers of
Yeah, that sounds good.
FTL. Yeah. And I bought it based purely on the hype of the FTL, like probably most people will and have. But my first reaction coming into this game, it's an isometric like tactics strategy game, turn-based. I'm like, okay, this will be fine. And a lot of people were saying, oh, it just blows FTL out of the water, and I'm like, they're two totally different games. Whatever. And then I got deeper into it, and it really does. It takes out the randomness that I didn't like about FTL. I mean, you still have some random elements with, like you can pick up, or you can recover crashed spaceships on your missions, and that gives you like a random pilot or something. So the basic gist is it's a tactics game. You have pilots, you have mechs, and the pilots level up based on the XP you get from killing your enemies, and then the mechs level up based on like orbs that you get from picking up on the battlefield. And the way the gameplay works is it's like a mecha chess game where
So
you know all the attacks that are going to happen beforehand. You can plan out your strategy. You can undo certain moves like moving, but once you like press attack with one certain character, like he's locked in to do that. And so it gets very interesting because you can push people, and like you have ranged units and close up brawlers, and it's very like it's way more cerebral of a game than I was thinking coming into it. So it's very interesting. If anything I just said sounds appealing to you.
Yes, it does. I will port beg for that on Switch like nobody's business.
It's very good. It's very good. And then the second game, since real quick, is Metal Gear Survive. And I know Maddie has a review of that coming out pretty soon, which
Is it as bad as everyone
very
says?
good. It's awesome. I'm having so much fun with it.
Oh,
Wait,
shit.
what? All
Yeah.
you do is poke zombies with a stick.
No.
I
See,
think Maddie's been having a blast with it too.
it's so like, I mean, it's way deeper than I ever imagined. I came in pretty blind, but they also didn't market the whole single player aspect of it. I thought it was just like a co-op horde mode, melee / shooter thing. But no, it's totally it's way cool. I'll talk about it more next week.
All right. Why don't we move on to Matt? Now, Matt, I guess the question is, have you had time to play anything?
Oh man, I've been sitting on airplanes so much that like I've been playing the hell out of Zelda.
My man.
I'm on my second Divine Beast. I started it maybe like 4 flights ago. This is pretty good. I'm having a blast with that. I mean, everyone's talked about it forever, Game of the Year. But also been playing Into the Breach. And I love that game. That game is sneaky sophisticated. It looks very simple when you look down at it. It's an 8x8 grid. You have 3 mechs. Like, this should be a very simple game. But it's deceitfully just really challenging and strategic. It's like a chess game with mech, which is pretty great. So I'm really getting into that. It's just like FTL in a lot of ways too, where your run falls apart really fast. You come back to it over and over again, just trying to improve your run. There's even ways where, like, if your crew wipes out, you get to save one of your characters and continue on.
I love that part.
You even have some progression along with it, and you kind of like develop your weird XCOM love for some of your characters. So yeah, I'm having a blast. Into the Breach. It will be a perfect iPad game. It'll be a perfect Switch game. So yeah, like you, John, I'll buy it there too. But really having a blast with it.
I'll be stunned if it doesn't and wind up on Switch at some point. I'll be really surprised.
It has to.
All right. Awesome, dude. That's awesome. Thank you. Jay, why don't you go ahead and go next?
All right, I'm gonna go next, but I'm already let the timer start rolling. But since no one gave me a shout yet, I launched Appeals Court this past Sunday. It's a brand new show within SDGC.
Good
It's
call.
it's cool. I think it's short. It's our pilot episode. It was Jeff, Zach, and I doing it. Good friend Matthew Lee Cawthron doing the music for it. It is pre-recorded.
I love the format.
Yeah, it's really cool, and we've already gotten some really good feedback on it. It's available on our YouTube, or on the SDGC YouTube, our SoundCloud, our iTunes, and it's available through our SS as well. So yeah, you guys should check it out. All right, I am done self-promoting here. I have not really been playing too much this week besides Steep, but so there's a PSN sale going on right now, and I was thinking about buying What Remains of Edith Finch. Is that what it's called?
Edith Finch. Did you say Edith?
Edith. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long day.
It could be pronounced Edith.
Edith. My bad. It's been a long day. But it was either between that and Nidhogg 2, and I bought Nidhogg 2, and I'm really glad that I did because I am absolutely in love with Nidhogg 2.
I can't get over the visual style. I just can't. Some people love it.
The visual style is great. I love how gross it is. Like, it reminds, like, if like Nidhogg 1's supposed to be like more like an 8-bit game, like I feel like Nidhogg 2 like takes like this, like the Super Nintendo look of like video games, but also takes like the cartoons of like the 90s and like how
it reminds me of Clay Fighter.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just really love it.
I can see that.
Oh. I'm reading the chat right now, and I didn't know there's a new DJ Maxx game coming out next week. So
I'm not gonna lie, I barely know what that is.
DJ Maxx is a rhythm game. It's made like in Korea, and like it's basically like K-pop and like Japanese like rap or Korean rap and whatnot. It's really good.
You tap the buttons that come down the screen, and you.
Okay, so yeah, it's not for me, so I can safely pass that.
Yeah. But yeah, I really love Nidhogg. I really love Nidhogg 2. It proves on like what made the first one great, but it also adds on to it. And I think the soundtrack for it is excellent. I might have to buy the final for it because it's really good.
Awesome, dude.
So yeah, and I've been playing Steep because we're Ubisoft sponsored, podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Marcel.
Yeah, Steep is an extreme sports action game that is somehow tied into the Rabbids universe. If you didn't know about that, I'm maxed out and I'm like level 30, which is like the highest level you can get into the game. I have spent 3 days of game time in the game, so yeah,
It's a good game.
it's a good game, and my time is up.
I also want to bounce off of Jay's Ubisoft shilling and point out that Marcel is going to be back on the show very, very soon. For even more Ubisoft shilling. We'll pass Brandon because Brandon, unless you've played something other than Overwatch.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I talked about Brigitte.
There you go, Brigitte.
You mean Bridget?
So Finn, I want to move on to you, and why don't you start off by dropping the news about the Nerdcast?
Right. So the show I got my start on, and the show I still continue every Wednesday. The show, if you don't know, that birthed Saki for the first time. Wednesdays at 9. We focus on gaming and comics, which is something that SDGC doesn't have a foothold in, comics notably. We have joined forces and formed the Saki Cinematic Universe of podcasts. So the NOLA Nerdcast and the SDGC are now lovers, as you were, caressing each other through the night.
That sounds sexy.
It's good stuff. It's fun. I mean, it's business as usual, but we get the benefit of merging with the good guys, and now SDGC gets some comic experts to pair up with our movie guy Jeff, with Pause for Popcorn, and our veritable stable of gaming guys. So it'll be fun. We're expanding the brand by acquisitions.
I'm going to be starting an SDGC book club soon. So
I
got all our bases.
I'm going to be starting a hentai club soon.
Oh shit! I'm going to be starting a gardening club. If any of you guys are interested, SDGC gardening is going to be great.
A fight club. I just can't talk about it.
That was funnier than it had any right to be.
Fight clubs. Our fight clubs only going to stream on Mixer, so none of you can find us.
Sam.
Sam. Unnecessary Mixer burn. Damn.
Sam in chat says, "Dread it, run from it. Saki still arrives." I understood that reference. That was great. But anyway, so yeah, and they're gonna get a dope new logo like Appeals Court and Pause for Popcorn, and it's gonna be great. So Finn, we are very happy to have the Saki Cinematic Universe completed. We should just rename the entire channel SCU. But no, I'm just kidding. We should not do that. But Finn, why don't you go ahead and finish up and talk about what you've been playing this week? This
week I've been jumping into Assassin's Creed Origins.
That's a shame.
I'm loving it. I'm loving the hell out of it.
Just kidding.
I know some people dislike the fact that you had to do a bunch of side quests to progress the main story.
I was not a fan of that at all.
If someone who 100% all open world games like an OCD obsession, it's not an issue for me. I've cleared every map I've touched so far, and I'm progressing with no hurdles. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Saki's playing with me. We're watching and enjoying the story together. And I gotta say, on a base PS4, which is what I'm playing it on, still stunning. And it makes my mind blown just thinking what the Xbox One X can do for it.
It is a really good looking
even on a base PS4, it has given me no cause for alarm. So I'm enjoying the hell out of it so far. I'm trying to get through it in time for the onslaught of games this month. I've got Sea of Thieves, Far Cry 5, and Ni no Kuni 2 on my docket. So
Ni no Kuni 2.
We'll see how that goes.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
All right. First, Ni no Kuni was
Gentlemen, you know when you're getting old? Let me tell you when you're getting old. When you turn on AC Origins and you can't read the text on the TV.
Oh, no, that is legit. I have actually stood up, walked closer to my TV so I could read the map. I wish I could enlarge the icons.
There, you should put that now, man.
They strain my eyes trying to read them. It's. I'm with you, Matt. You are not alone. It reminds me of Dead Rising on the 360.
On an SD TV.
Yeah, exactly. It's that level of difficult to read.
I
Oh,
thought
thank God.
I thought Matt was going to say, you're getting old when you play AC Origins and you remember what life was like back in ancient Egypt. Like I thought that's where you were going with that.
Oh,
So-
also, Finn,
Yeah,
your time's up. I just didn't do the bell thing.
No, it's cool. Move on.
Okay, well, I'll wrap it up, and then we'll move
Cool.
into our first topic. So I can tell you what I've not been playing this week was Chrono Trigger on PC because it's a shitty port. And
Because you should be playing Chrono Cross on your PlayStation 1
no,
instead.
we're not starting this.
No, we're not going down this road. Square Enix, fix your fucking shit and stop disrespecting all your classic games. This is fucking ridiculous.
It
It's
looks
bullshit.
awful.
It looks terrible.
It looks like they put the worst emulation filter humanly possible on it.
And they didn't even bother removing the touchscreen prompts because it's the mobile version. They're still there.
And I have the mobile version that actually looks better than this PC
It's
version.
Like the thing is like they've ported like the mobile ports like Final Fantasy 9 to Steam and whatnot, but they actually like put effort into it to like remove the mobile like.
Well, I saw that
buttons.
like even for this PC version, they even like redrew some sprites and
Yeah.
stuff, but they don't look.
Well, and
good.
did you see like even some of the square tiles don't match up?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how badly they fucked this up. And it just tells me that they have no respect for their classic games whatsoever. So I've given up any hope of a decent Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy IV port. I'm not even
The
thinking
hype
about
for it, like how much hype there was for it on like Twitter and everything, and like how seeing like how
yeah.
fast it crashed it
Within
was,
a matter
the
of like
funniest
an
thing
hour.
ever.
An hour.
I remember waking up and I was looking at my phone in bed and I see like, oh hey, Chrono Trigger port, and everyone's all excited. And then I eat breakfast, drink my coffee, and I look back and like suddenly everything's on fire.
Everything's bad. Yeah. The other two things I've been playing almost nothing but Fire Emblem Awakening this week. I never played the Fire like one of the few JRPGs I'd never played. It was more of a strategy game, but I am in love with Fire Emblem Awakening. This is my new bullshit. I've already put I don't even know how many time into it, and it's all I'm gonna play all weekend because Fire Emblem Awakening is a fucking amazing game. After this, I'm gonna jump into Shadows of Valencia, and then I'm gonna move on to Fire Emblem Fates. Or Conquest. I'm not sure which one. And I also
John, who's your waifu in Fire Emblem?
Ooh, right.
This is very important for the hentai club.
Okay, so I don't want to let the hentai club down.
Oh my god.
By the way, I do not endorse the hentai club. I just want to point that out.
We're dissolving the hentai club now.
So far I gotta say Marth.
Shout out to Fatal Futanari in chat.
Marth. I like Marth. Marth is dope.
Okay, your answer wasn't Tharja, so you're fired.
And I've
Don't you mean Fikja?
Fikja. Jesus, this is
Yeah.
all right. This is getting off the rails quickly. And I have also actually right before we did the podcast, I played the Kirby Star Allies demo. Created a European eShop account, downloaded that. It is phenomenal. It's beautiful. Oh, it's such a good looking game.
Yes.
It is a gorgeous fucking game, and I don't even mind. Like everybody's saying, "Oh, but it's only 30 frames a second." It looks great. It plays great. It runs great.
Ding ding ding, ding ding ding.
I want to say one more thing real quick. The only thing I don't like about this Kirby Star Allies demo is that every time you walk in a door, you get a loading screen. I'm not really a fan of that. But aside from that, the game is fucking phenomenal. I'll be there day one.
It's called technology, John. Sometimes you have to deal with it.
Well, speaking of technology and dealing with things, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm not going anywhere with that.
You're not going anywhere with that.
I'm not. Let's jump into our first topic of the night. Well, we got two, and I will allow you guys to pick which one we do first. So the topics we have for you guys tonight are... JT, are you leaving?
Yeah, I got a dip.
You got a dip? Okay,
Peace
buddy.
out.
Don't drink too much.
Yep.
Have fun.
Don't drink and drive.
I like turtles.
Just leave. So the two topics we have for you guys tonight are topic number one, atmosphere in games and how it lends to narrative, things like narrative and gameplay and story, and also old franchises we would like to see resurrected. So I will let the group decide which one you want to tackle first, atmosphere or old franchises. What do you think?
What if we have a game that hits both?
You can talk about both. I'm making an executive decision. Guys, what do you think? You want to do atmosphere first?
Let's just do atmosphere first.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So atmosphere in games, and we're not just talking about the story in a game. We're talking about the art direction, the the level design, everything about any particular area in the game that lends itself to a better narrative, a better story, um, and how atmosphere in a game can either make or break it. I truly believe that a game with great gameplay and a poor atmosphere, I'd rather play a game with an amazing atmosphere and so-so gameplay. That's just me personally, but I'm also a huge fan of narrative heavy games. And I will say that right off the bat, that I think a great example of how atmosphere lends itself to making a better game is, you guys are, this is probably what you expected, but Dark Souls, and Bloodborne, and Demon Souls.
Oppression.
Yeah, yes, that's a great word. The atmosphere in all of those games is nothing short of, it is you against the world. And when you first walk out, a great example is in Dark Souls, for example, when you wake up in the undead asylum, and the bird, the raven carries you off to the Firelink Shrine, and then you go to the Undead Burg, and there is nothing alive except for the rest of the undead who want to kill you, and you start thinking to yourself, what happened to this world? Where is everybody gone? Why is everything trying to kill me? I have no idea what's happening, but it's beautiful. And when you go through and you start piecing the story together, just from things you find lying around, and when I'm talking atmosphere in Dark Souls, I'm even talking about item descriptions. Everything in that game, there is nothing in that game that does not have a purpose. Whether it's the description on a weapon, I mean, there are weapons that have more lore than the entirety of some games in Dark Souls. And it's the same thing in Bloodborne. When you wake up on that table and you walk out into Yharnam, and everybody in the city is turned into a beast, and they're trying to kill you, and you have absolutely fuck all idea of what's going on. And then you're climbing up that ladder. Very early in the game, you're climbing up a ladder in Yharnam, and you hear what you find out later is the cleric beast, and it screams at the top of his lungs, and it sounds like something that is dying underwater. It's this gurgling scream that echoes throughout the whole city. And I remember stopping on the ladder as I was climbing up and thinking, what the fuck was that? And the oppressive nature of that game, without it, I don't think Bloodborne would have affected me as much. I don't think the story, once you piece together what actually happened in Yharnam, I don't think the story and even the gameplay would have had the effect on me that it did had the atmosphere not been so terrifying and oppressive and just downright evil. I mean, the atmosphere in that game is just evil. There is a sense of malice in almost everything in Bloodborne. Even and in Dark Souls and Bloodborne both, even the NPCs are creepy.
Yeah, the NPCs you talk to.
Yeah, they're creepy as hell. You'll talk to them.
And also, like in Dark Souls, you have, who's that one guy that I don't remember his name, but there's that one NPC you talk to twice, and then like you have to like get something for him, and then you free him from his cell, and he ends up killing one of the other NPCs.
Oh, that's Lautrec.
Yep, that guy.
Yeah, Lautrec, and it's that's how much I love Dark Souls.
Him,
you can mention that.
You can't trust anyone.
Well, and
everyone's out to get. Well,
something. And like NPCs will turn hollow and hunt you down later in the game. The Crestfallen Warrior in the Firelink Shrine, if you talk to him too much, he'll completely give up on life. And when you reach an area called Old Londo, he will run out of the darkness, and he's now gone hollow, and he'll try to kill you. And there's no way to take that back. Like there's no way to erase your decisions in Dark Souls or Bloodborne. You can't reload it. You can't reload an old save unless you've uploaded something to the cloud. You can't do it. What's done is done. Which again just adds to the oppressive nature of the thing. So I've talked too long, so I'll pass it off to somebody else. But
yeah, I have two games I want to talk about.
Yeah, dude,
the first
please.
one would be, I mean, you can't. I feel like you can't talk about a atmosphere in games without mentioning the Stalker series.
Oh, that's a good one.
About a decade ago. Call of Pripyat and Shadow of Chernobyl, especially. and then there, it's not just the monster. It's not just like the mutated radioactive monsters. It's the atmosphere. The literal atmosphere is trying to kill you. Like you have all the crazy radiation storms and shit.
Oh, that's a good point. I like
So
that.
like that feels completely hostile, even down to even nature is trying to kill you.
What about so like how do you feel that the atmosphere in something like Stalker lends itself to the story? Do you think that
I don't really know the story. I never played too much of them.
okay.
I'm not an expert on them, but I certainly know the atmosphere of them. You don't have to play much you get your ass kicked pretty quickly in that game.
It
You
looks
learn
like
to fear the environment.
it looks like Matt Piscatella wants to jump in and say something.
Well, no, that game is fantastic because it does make you feel that you're out in this irradiated wilderness and that you're just some Russian dude trying to figure it all out. I mean, that game does a fantastic job, a lot like the Metro games do.
I was just thinking that,
of, yeah, of delivering that kind of time and place.
And the original Fallouts.
Yeah, exactly.
That whole genre, yeah.
Yeah, it's oppressive in a different way than the Souls games, perhaps, but its own kind of modern take on that oppressive nature. The one I was going to mention too, talk about oppressive environments. System Shock 2. I don't know if any of you guys have played.
Yo, no, I have.
One.
Shodan is one of my favorite characters in any game.
There you go, 1999. The first real appearance of an evil that is manifested not only in the character or the character Shodan, but in everything in the environments you're going through. You're walking through like a living representation of this evil, and the sound, the way the lighting works. I mean, for a 1999 game to deliver that kind of oppression in its own way, I think also fit that very well of delivering that story.
And the other game I want to talk about is and it's cheating a little bit, but the Westwood's Blade Runner adventure game, point and click.
yes.
Shit!
Yeah,
Nice.
And you must give credit to Westwood for perfectly recreating the atmosphere of the film, in like a way that just makes you feel like you are in that version of Los Angeles.
Didn't Finn play the game before he saw the movie?
I did.
Yes.
That was me.
Oh, you
Yeah.
yeah okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was both of us. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
My grandfather got me the Blade Runner game as a Christmas present in like '98 or something like that, and I didn't watch the movie until like 2002 or something.
Yeah, I never like watching
fantastic
I never like seen my dad play it when I was like 4 or 5, and then I watched the movie.
Oh, it was such
later on.
a good game. Such a good game. It had random elements, who the replicants would be. So like each playthrough, there would be different NPCs would be replicants or humans.
That's so fucking cool. God, I forgot all about that game.
Too bad you can't like,
have
buy it
to
anywhere
issue the
nowadays.
Blight Conf test to figure that shit out. It's pretty cool. Super good game.
Does that game hold up now? Like I've never played it before.
Yeah.
Is it on God?
I would imagine it would.
100% does.
Yeah, I would imagine it would.
It's
I mean, like,
almost
and so
impossible
they
to actually play now.
that's the
because
hard
it was
part.
an old MS-DOS game.
No, it was a Windows game, but it's not available on any digital platform, so you have to actually have the CDs like from eBay. I actually still have the CDs in my room.
So do I.
You have to get them on eBay or some shit.
Like I kind of want to ship him out to Matt so he can experience it. The game
Yeah,
is sublime.
it's possibly the best point and click adventure game.
It's up there.
I play it every other year, like replay it.
It's a guaranteed top 5.
It's up there.
And also, they couldn't license the original film soundtrack, so the composer, I think, what's his name, Frank Klepacki, who also did like the Command and Conquer soundtracks and all that. He had to recreate the soundtrack, and he did an incredible job as well in recreating the atmosphere of the soundtrack. And so it was just really authentic.
And it's the last thing I'll say about it. An underrated aspect of it is it doesn't rehash the events of the movie.
Yeah, it's a completely original story.
Detective. It just happens concurrently with what Deckard is doing during Blade Runner. So you'll go to some of the same locations and interact with some of the same people, but it'll be at different times than when Harrison Ford's character does.
Yeah, Matt, if you've ever played point-and-click adventure games like King's Quest or Quest for Glory, like those are some of the best. This is right up there. It's right up there, yeah.
It even has a little bit of shooting and stuff. Like, there's some action to it.
Yeah, it's an excellent game.
I love Blade Runner, and I've never played it. That.
Oh, if you
blows my
love
mind.
Oh,
the
yeah,
films,
you're
it's,
missing
it's a
out.
must play.
You-
Absolutely a must play.
You want to talk
Absolutely.
about atmosphere in a game. Blade Runner does it really well. And before we move on, I want to go to Jay next, but real quick, I want to throw a shout out to BioShock as well. If you want to talk about just an incredible atmosphere, the ruins, and I'm talking about like the first one, the ruins of Rapture, and seeing what like going through the halls and seeing or like looking at the posters of the plasmids and imagining what life in Rapture was like through those tape decks that you find, just really hit home for me. And I found myself wishing that I could experience Rapture as it was before it fell, before the fight between Andrew Ryan and Frank Fontaine. So yeah, BioShock is another one that's right up there for me with Dark Souls as far as just an oppressive atmosphere that is the entire crux of the game, in my opinion. More important than gameplay, because I mean the first person gameplay in BioShock, let's face it, is not great. It wasn't great when it came out, and it doesn't hold up well. But
I mean, you think it came out the same year as like Call of Duty or
yeah,
Crisis
exactly,
or like other like exceptional first-person shooters,
And I just noticed in chat that Midi has not played BioShock yet. Correct
or
yourself.
Halo 3.
Correct.
I
yourself.
haven't either, so.
Oh, Jay, you need to correct yourself as well. And speaking of Jay, why don't you talk about some atmosphere in games for you, man?
First off, I want to give a shout out to the Yakuza series. I don't want to talk about any more Yakuza because I feel like I talk about it on here every week for like 10 minutes.
I've seen a lot of people talking about Yakuza a lot recently.
Yeah, so have I.
Yeah, like all I'm gonna say is like if you've ever wanted to go to Japan but you're too broke to go to Japan, you should just buy a Yakuza game because the experience is right there. Like you can just like walk through the streets and like go get ramen and go to the arcade.
That's pretty dope.
And then yeah, it's fun. But I don't know. I think my favorite game, like the atmosphere in a game, is probably Final Fantasy VIII. I know everyone
That's an
can probably
interesting
be like,
choice.
Final Fantasy VIII, like I don't like that game. First off, I want to say that like I don't really care for Final Fantasies aesthetically until Final Fantasy VI. Like I'm not really a huge fan of the whole fantasy, like high fantasy thing. Like I like having like the steampunk and like modern like elements into my Final Fantasy games, and I feel like VIII like has like it's like perfect for me because it's like it's not really present day, but has all like present day elements in it. And for anyone who hasn't played Final Fantasy VIII, and a lot of people talk about Final Fantasy VIII, is you're playing like a group of high schoolers, but they're also like merchants. Like they're like not merchants. They're like
Mercenaries.
Mercenaries. They're like hired guns. But like our good friend Anthony from the Continue podcast and we were talking about this like a while back. He wrote an article about Final Fantasy VIII and about how it nails the high school atmosphere perfectly in a game. You have JRPGs like Persona, the Persona series, and like people think those are like the perfect, like high school like games. But like I feel like Final Fantasy VIII like captures that whole high school feeling more. It's awkward and like these characters still really don't know what they want. And I mean like like the first like part of the game is basically played in a school that spoilers, it flies away eventually and it becomes your airship. But like
I just want to put I don't think spoilers on a 20-year-old game. Yeah, don't worry about that, man.
Yeah, it's like 19 years old now.
Yeah, I know, that's depressing. Yeah,
but I don't know, like I feel like Final Fantasy VIII just nails it. Like I don't know, just it feels like a Final Fantasy game that like you're playing that could be like set in like today. Like I don't know, like the cities like look like I don't know, like I think that's why I like Final Fantasy 15 so much, because I think Final Fantasy 15 is the first Final Fantasy for me like since 8 that's like kind of kept like let's have a like Final Fantasy game set in like in the present day, but let's also has some fantasy elements into it.
But it also really nails that road trip vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does. And like I mean, not that 8 has a road trip vibe, but like it kind of has like this like we're traveling across the world so we can like complete these missions and whatnot. Also, the soundtrack kicks ass in Final Fantasy VIII. It's probably the best.
I'm not gonna agree with you there, but it does have a great soundtrack. I'm not gonna lie. The soundtrack
it has a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
I wish I could buy the final for it, but it's really expensive.
Awesome, dope, dude.
Yeah. So Final Fantasy VIII. It does not have a shitty mobile port, so you should buy it on Steam.
I am actually really surprised we have not gotten a remaster of that yet. We've got 7, we got 9, but no 8. So that genuinely surprises me. Finn, what is an example of a game for you where the atmosphere is the absolute most important thing, and is kind of the thing that ties the whole game together?
I'm going to take only half my time because Saki has her own that she was really adamant about.
Oh,
Mine is Journey,
Ooh,
a game where the atmosphere
well done.
is pretty much 100% of the experience. Everything about Journey is derived from the atmosphere and how the game is presented. So, I mean, I really don't have much else to say about Journey. I think by now we all know that what the game's about and what the atmosphere.
Sand surfing.
Is that the game where you have to like walk on the sand?
Yeah, yep. And there's
I've not played Journey, so I wouldn't know.
The way the lighting in the atmosphere plays out, and the transitioning of the environments from the desert to the mountaintop. Man, just
and there's
memorable.
there's one part of the game that Brandon just mentioned where you're surfing on the sand for almost the entire level, and you're going like Brandon, that part when it's side scrolling and the sun is going through the pillars, just
yeah.
Oh gosh,
everyone knows that. That's the most memorable part of the entire game.
It's so good. That was a great choice. And what was Saki's choice? I'm curious.
It was Toontown.
Hellblade. Hellblade is an excellent. Well, as you know, Saki, Hellblade was my game of the year in 2017. So
very happy about that.
I can't believe I'm having this conversation. I loved Hellblade. The atmosphere in Hellblade, especially because half of it was going on inside of her head.
And honestly, it gets to the point where I'm using normal voice now. But it gets to the point where it's in your head, especially if you put the headphones in and you don't listen to the audio coming from the TV, and the voices in her head are now in your head, and then you wonder if you're going neurotic at all, and you're really in her mindset, dealing with her mental illness and just the mental hell she's going through the entire game. And the whole point of it was to make it relatable.
Well, one of the genius things I think Hellblade did with its atmosphere, and yeah, half of its atmosphere was due to the audio, and I thought one of the brilliant things they did was, and you really only get this if you're playing with a headset, which if you're not playing Hellblade with a headset on, you're doing it wrong. But you've got voices constantly. The voices in Senwa's head are going at you, going at each other, and they will continue to do that over narrative bits. Like when another character is talking to you, the voices will just go on, and you won't be able to understand part of what the other character is saying, and that's intentional because the whole point is that Psychosis doesn't take a break. Psychosis doesn't take time off for you to understand a plot point from an NPC, or to understand this audio clue you're supposed to be getting. Psychosis is there. It doesn't give a shit about you. It doesn't waste time for you. It just goes and goes and goes. It cares nothing for your time. And once I realized what they were doing, once I realized what that was, man, like it just, as somebody who suffers with his own form of mental illness, like that just blew me away. What a great choice. That was an excellent choice. Anything else? Go ahead.
Runner up is Edith Finch too, because every single storyline in Edith Finch is different. And I think each story depends on the different visual aspect of how the kid in the bathtub dies and how the kid in the salmon factory. And each one just hits you in a different way.
Spoilers.
I also just want to point out that What Remains of Edith Finch was my runner-up for Game of the Year. So we're on the same wavelength.
John, can I point something out really quick?
Please.
None of those games appeared on our top 100 list, but you put fucking Metroid Samus Returns on the list. It came out last year.
I actually Hellblade and Edith Finch were both on there for me, but they didn't make it on the list.
I didn't know that. Okay.
They didn't make it on the list.
I'm surprised, actually.
This podcast is full of a bunch of scrubs
Okay,
You'll
I didn't know that.
appreciate-
I'm sorry for calling you out in public.
No, dude, I'm just giving you a
I
hard time.
honestly didn't know that. Like,
No, dude, I'm giving you a hard time. No, like I mean, come on.
I thought you might just been like, oh, like screw those games for this list. Like,
No.
let's put Rift
This
Boy
is. I
remake
mean, we're
in
talking
here.
about a podcast that took a classic like Final Fantasy VI and dumped it at number 43. So,
Well, I
which-
mean, it deserved to be where it was put.
moving
but,
on.
you know.
Moving on. I want to bring up. One more game that I think really just absolutely nails atmosphere, not just from and I think this is another great example of the atmosphere and especially the creatures in the game tying into the story. That's Silent Hill 2. Because like, and again, like I don't know, are we past the point of expiration on Silent Hill 2 spoilers? Is it okay to talk about spoilers for Silent Hill 2?
Yeah, I mean, that game's almost 2 decades old.
It's old enough to, I think, yeah. So
Yeah.
James Sunderland, the protagonist of Silent Hill 2, most of the creatures in the game represent a part of his psyche. There's a scene it's one of the most infamous scenes in the game, but you're walking up some stairs and you see the pyramid head, which represents James's anger. The pyramid head is raping one of the other monsters, which represents, because his wife died and they weren't being intimate, and that represented his sexual frustration, not being able to reach out and be intimate with his wife. And once you start, and then when you accept some of the actions that you have done before you got to Silent Hill, the pyramid heads that are attacking you stop and immediately disappear. They disappear because James is now at peace and has accepted the decisions that he's made. And once you find out what those creatures really represent and what Silent Hill itself represents to James, that really, really blew me away. And without that connective tissue tying everything together, if those creatures had just been monsters, for example, like if Pyramid Head was just a guy walking around with a giant metal pyramid on his head and a sword trying to kill you, I don't feel that game would have had half the emotional impact on me that it did, knowing that those creatures are a direct result of things that are going on inside James's head. And I thought that was really powerful, and it's one of the first games I played that really kind of took the narrative and took it a step further like that in regards to tying the atmosphere and the protagonist together. And I thought that was really bold. I thought it was a really genius move. It's why I love Silent Hill 2.
Is that the one that has the secret ending that involves the dog?
Yes.
Like...
Well, they all do. But yeah, there's
Okay.
a secret ending in Silent Hill 2 where you find out that everything's being controlled by a dog. It's good stuff. Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great fucking game. So Jay, do you want to move on to Dead, because we got about 15 minutes left. Do you want to move on to franchises that we want to see revived?
Yeah, so, sometimes we love games and sometimes they don't sell well, or the company goes broke, or, just something happens and we don't ever get a sequel or spin-off to games that we love. So do you want me to start this off then?
Yeah, go ahead and kick it off.
Okay, in my dreams, the game franchise I would like to be revived is Steampunk Chronicles, though we're never ever going to get another Steampunk Chronicles game again. So
Why do you say that? What makes you say that?
I mean, you have to remember, Steampunk Chronicles, it was published by Atlas, but it was developed by IREM, and after the tsunami in 2011, IREM pretty much just stopped all of their video game development and went back into gambling machines. And I think it was recently a development company started back up, and they got the Disaster Report IP and the Steampunk Chronicle IP. I think, I'm not too positive on the Steampunk Chronicles IP, but I think they're making a new Disaster Report. I don't know if they're making a new Steampunk Chronicles.
So I actually never played Steampunk Chronicles.
Yeah.
What platform was it? What
It was a late PlayStation 2 game.
Okay.
It came out in 2006 here in America.
Is that related to the Steambot or to the Steam? What's the Dig World or Dig or
Steam World?
Steam World, yeah, Steam World Dig. Is it in
No.
any relation to those?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, it got a very limited release. I never realized how expensive it is to buy a complete copy of it now. So I'm glad I still have my launch day copy.
What
But I
about?
love that game. So if I could see a game franchise that I love actually be revived and that I actually think could be revived, it's Virtual Fighter.
Ooh, yeah.
Uh,
Shit, dude, I
we
haven't
haven't
played Virtua Fighter in God knows how long.
we haven't seen new Virtual Fighter aside from the the Final Showdown digital release. I mean digital only release a couple years ago. We haven't seen like a new main Virtual Fighter game in like a decade now.
I don't think we're gonna get one either.
No, but
That's
Yakuza
unfortunate.
6 is coming out soon, and Virtual Fighter 5 is playable like the full game in the arcade.
That's pretty cool.
So the dream is still alive. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
I'm trying not to shit on you. I'm trying not to piss all over your dreams, man. I promise.
I know. Just like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't like when a video game franchise dies. Like I'm upset about it, but like at the same time, I'm like maybe like the developers can move on to like better things. So, but yeah, I would just love to see a new Virtual Fighter.
Matt, what about you, man? Are there any old franchises that you are 99% certain we won't ever see again, but you would give your, I don't know, like 2 fingers for?
There's 2.
Well, I meant
The
Matt.
first
I meant
is,
Matt. I didn't say Finn. I said Matt. You're Finn.
Sorry.
You're Finn. You are going to go after Matt. You're going to go after Matt.
Sorry, dude.
Sorry, Finn.
Listen.
Jeez.
Let me tell you guys about a little game I like to call 1 versus 100
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
from the
shit.
Xbox 360 with a quiz game where you got to go up there and answer questions live. It was way ahead of its time. It was a blast. It had Doritos sometimes. It was the original Battle Royale. And god damn it, I want that to come back so bad. I had a blast playing 1 versus 100. I thought it was actually funny and a good time. I never got to be the one, which still kind of pisses me off. So, man, like every time I see the Xbox guys, I'm like, listen, I don't care what you do. Get 1 versus 100 back. And they always kind of give me like the, yeah, we know.
That'd be great,
stop
wouldn't it?
nodding. Yeah, stop nodding, saying you know it. Frickin' do it, man. Come on, let's go.
Well, you could play on your phone. It's called HQ.
That's some
Yeah,
bullshit.
that's. I was
It's
just
not.
thinking about that.
No, it's nowhere.
I know,
near
I'm
the-
kidding. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
I'm
It
kidding.
makes me
One
just- I
versus one
feel
versus
the rage.
400 was a blast, though.
It was, man. I love that game. I would love that to come back just because it was so weird and ahead of its time and fun, man. So,
You know what's interesting, Matt, is that Sam in chat says it would be perfect for Mixer.
why not mix it up? Let's do it. That and Crimson Skies, and I'm a happy guy.
Oh, Crimson
yeah,
Skies would be
Crimson
good.
Skies.
Yeah.
I used to play 1 versus 100 the CNET controllers for the that you could get for the 360.
Oh man,
Like, man, that was fun. That was such a blast.
that was a good time.
Anything else, Matt?
No, I'm just
No?
depressed because I want to play 1 versus
Oh,
100.
man, dude, I've got so many. I want to
And
move on.
it's impossible to ever do it again.
Finn, what about you, dude? Now we'll move on to Finn.
Like I said, 2 of them. Shining Force is 1,
Good call.
like the actual legit strategy RPG Shining Force series.
Good.
I know
man.
Sega has continued some kind of bastardization of the Shining series,
Yeah.
It's not.
but
yeah.
Shining Force needs to come back. I don't care if it's just them finally releasing parts 2 and 3 of Shining Force 3 that America never got. I want it. I deserve it. We all deserve it. We've been good. Damn it. And the second one is Shadow Heart.
Oh yeah, good
You
call.
like your
Especially-
strategy games, huh?
Shadow.
I like my RPGs and I like my strategy games, and Shadow Hearts is another one that, and I don't know, there's a story behind it that I always forget the details on, but there's a reason we haven't gotten remastered, re-released anything. There's something about it. I just wish we could get another one, because Shadow Hearts Covenant remains one of the best RPGs on the PS2.
The first Shadow Hearts is a benchmark RPG.
And that was on a system that was defined by its RPGs.
Yep. Oh, what a good fucking choice, man. I applaud you, especially the Shining Force. I always appreciate a love of Shining Force.
Especially when you agree that 2's better than 1.
No, the first one is absolutely better than 2.
Well, you know, vote with your wallets and buy that spin-off that's coming out in America that shows Sega that you want to see a Shining Force game.
That's a Pretender to the Throne, man.
I know. I was just joking.
I know. Okay. We know you're joking.
I just got triggered.
I'm interested.
You really did.
I'm interested to hear Brandon's.
It's not very interesting. It's just SSX.
Oh, I'd love that though, dude. I would
love an so much of my high school years were defined by like Tony Hawk and SSX, like those kind of extreme sports trick style games.
Did you play the one that came out for PS3?
Yeah.
That was.
We talked a little bit about it because like when we were talking about like sound mixing and dynamic music and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I played it. It was okay. It was almost good.
It had a phenomenal
The story
soundtrack.
missions really ruined it for me.
Yeah,
it was
almost
like
good.
Missions. I didn't like the story missions, but SSX Tricky is still probably one of the best snowboarding games I've seen.
For me, SSX 3 was the peak.
Yeah, I like SSX 3 so much more than Tricky.
The one mountain sort of thing was so cool.
Man, I've got so many games that I would love to see brought back. Just like off the top of my head, Legacy of Kain, the Legacy of Kain series, which Simon Templeman...
It did come back as like a multiplayer.
It sort of did. It was called Nosgoth, but it wasn't. It didn't have any of the characters that you know or any of the story.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But Legacy of Kain had some of the best writing and voice acting in any game ever. Like those games still have, in my opinion, have yet to be topped in terms of script or voice acting. And Amy Hennig was involved with those games.
Yep.
And Simon Templeman as Kain, who was the kind of the anti-hero of the series, and then I can't remember the guy who played Raziel, but some of just the writing in those games and the way that they delivered those lines, they really, nobody phoned it in. They really just were chewing scenery the whole time. It was such an interesting world, Nosgoth. I love the lore behind it. And after Defiance, though, it just kind of ended. It left it open at the end, and nothing kind of came of it. And I was really disappointed by that. The Chrono series, I think we would all love another Chrono game. We almost had one. You remember when Chrono Break was copyrighted by Squaresoft back then. It wasn't Square Enix. It was Squaresoft back then. They copyrighted the name Chrono Break, and everybody was all excited about a new Chrono game happening, and that never happened. But that's a series that desperately needs another shake. And then I'll also say Dead Space. That series literally ended. Spoilers for the end of Dead Space 3. I think we can all get over it if you haven't played it. That series literally ended with Isaac and John Carver looking on as the Necromorphs were invading Earth, and the game ended. And we have not had one since. And that game came out in what like 2013. It's been 5 years now. Give us another Dead Space. Give us another Dead Space.
They're going to call it Alive Space. Because it's alive now.
Living Space. But oh god, I would love. I mean, those are Dead Space 2. For me, pound for pound, is still the best third-person horror game this side of Resident Evil 4.
See, the only positive thing I think that's going on, well, there's a lot of positive things going on, but the guys who used to run Sledgehammer Games over at Activision were the cats who originally brought Dead Space over at EA. And they've been moved to a role at Activision to really focus on new experiences, new games, and new IP. So I'm hoping that those cats have something in the back of their heads of like, we need to bring something like that back. It's not going to be the Dead Space franchise, of course, because, EA has that locked up. But something similar would be so awesome. So I hope they're given the reins to make games like that again. That would be fantastic.
I figure if Darksiders can get a third installment, Dead Space can get a fourth installment. Come on, what are we waiting for? I mean, what an amazing bunch of games. Somebody in chat mentioned Parasite Eve. That would be another one.
Yeah, Parasite.
Parasite Eve, give it like Resident Evil Revelations gameplay.
To be fair,
we got the third birthday.
Parasite Eve died because third birthday was absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't like the third birthday. Maybe I'm just
Why?
weird.
That's the point. It died because that game was so bad.
I thought it was.
Yeah,
I thought it was
Square
fine.
also lost the right. Square also lost the rights to the Parasite Eve name, which is why.
Yeah,
they
it's based on
called
a
it
series
Third
of books,
Birthday.
right?
Yeah, it's based on a series of books.
Yeah, I seem to remember that. Honestly, I mean, you could fill an entire conversation about this with nothing but Square games. Like if you want to talk about Brave
Yeah.
Fencer Musashi or Chrono, or
No, Musashi does not need to come
oh, dude,
back.
I
That's
love Brave Fencer Musashi.
That's
Vagrant
okay.
Story,
Bushido
Vagrant Story,
Blade needs to come
Vagrant
back.
Story, or Final Fantasy Tactics deserve, especially Final Fantasy Tactics deserve better than that shitty Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I don't care what anybody says. It's not a good game.
I like Advance more than the
Oh,
original one.
no,
Yeah,
no.
the advanced games were fine.
Yeah, like
No.
they're
no,
fine.
they're no
like,
tactics ogre.
Speaking,
Kogatsu in chat said what I was gonna say. Bring back Bushido Blade.
Yeah, Bushido Blade
Bushido
needs
Blade
to come
would be
back
good.
ASAP.
Ogre battle. Bring back ogre battle.
Ogre Battle,
And Lunar.
Brandon. That would, yeah, I would
I
love
want a
another
third
Ogre Battle.
Lunar game.
Yeah.
Bring
Lunar.
back
Lunar
the
was good.
Saga series.
The Saga, Lunar, Fatal Food
I
and Ari
never,
in
I
chat
never
says
played
Lunar.
Saga.
Lunar would be great. Lunar would be really cool to bring back.
Who's gonna make a lunar game?
Nobody.
Yeah, like-
I mean, I could see Atlas doing it.
It
Sell
would
the
be
rights
good.
to Atlas. I could see
Well,
Atlas
Yeah,
doing
no,
it.
there'd be like to me too much like Dayton in it.
Where's
Anything like everything that came out after Lunar 2 Eternal Blue Complete is like not even worth paying attention to.
What about
They released
Castle-
like that awful DS game, Lunar Dragon Song or whatever it was.
Castlevania?
Yeah.
Give me another really good Castlevania game.
You know,
Well,
Bloodstained's
another
coming out
Lucia.
soon.
Yeah, you
Oh,
got
dude, I'm
another
so
Lucia.
stoked for Bloodstained.
What about another Grandia?
I was just gonna say that.
Uh,
Make it another story-driven Grandia. Grandia 3 was super light on story and super heavy on combat. I would also. I mean, there's so many RPGs. I mean, like Breath of Fire. Like, bring back Breath of Fire or Wild Arms. I mean, honestly, like, once you really get into the meat and potatoes of it, I mean, there are so many incredible franchises. Power Stone. Guys, am I right or am I right? Like,
yeah,
fucking-
Power Stone would make an amazing Switch game.
Oh my god, dude!
Right?
Like, oh, that'd be so
Power
good.
Stone just would make it like an amazing anything game at this point.
yeah,
Another
Power Stone's pretty good.
another Power Stone would just be fucking incredible.
Power
It's just-
Stone 2 was a little too over the top for me. I still like the first one better.
I like the first one a whole lot more than the second
Yeah.
one.
What about
It was still good, but the first one was just more cohesive.
Lufia? Lufia.
Yeah, Luffy. Yeah, Luffy. They told their story though. Like
I would love a reboot though. A reboot of Lufia.
I very
think.
much love Luffy too.
Super
I would
Mario
love a sequel.
RPG. Super
Yeah,
Mario
that was a
RPG.
once in a. I mean,
And,
Super Mario. RPG was
No,
a once-
check this out. Make a new Super Mario RPG. Give it to Davide Soliani at Ubisoft and let him do what he did for Kingdom Battle. I mean, can you imagine that using some of the assets from Kingdom Battle to make a new Super Mario RPG? That would be fucking awesome. And nobody...
I wish Naughty Dog would make another like Jack and Daxter game, but like a platforming one, not like
that
Edge
would be dope.
Edge Hard.
That would be dope.
Because you know there's been like concept art for like forever now. Like they're planning on making one a couple years ago, but like that became like The Last of Us or Uncharted 4.
Kagasu in chat says WarioWare.
Yeah, we haven't had a WarioWare in a while.
It's
and,
been
like,
a
that
long
needs
time.
like that's perfect for the Switch.
It's been a long time. There's a bunch of old Nintendo franchises you could bring back too, like Punch Out. I'd
Like
love
Ice
a new Punch Out.
Climbers.
I mean, and
Everyone's playing
Ice
Ice
Climbers would be
Climbers.
great. Punch Out would be perfect for the Switch, right? I mean, the Joy Cons. I mean, the motion control, it speaks for itself. F-Zero would be incredible if you brought back another F-Zero. Bring back top-down 2D Zelda, which honestly I think we're probably gonna get. I think we're probably gonna get one of those in the Switch. Matt, you got any more franchises you would love to see dug out of the grave and reanimated?
Well, I was gonna say Scribblenauts, but there's one supposedly coming.
There's one
next
coming.
week, but it's not quite old school Scribblenauts. I just love Maxwell as a character. That would be one. I think the other ones on my list here, I had Panzer General. I don't know if you guys ever played that. It's an old turn-based strategy game with hexagons and
I've
Little
never even
miniature
heard
counters?
of that.
yeah, one of those old war games, big strategic war games. Kind of think Advanced Wars, but with Sherman tanks.
Advance Wars. Bring back
Yeah,
Advance Wars.
Hey man, the other one, Jean d'Arc. I don't know if you guys ever played.
Yes!
I played Jean d'Arc.
Yes,
yeah.
my man.
Yo, we are
I
talking about a
love that
lot
game.
of strategy games here.
Man, I would love that. Another.
It's probably
because
because they don't make a lot of strategy games
Oh,
anymore.
guys, and anybody in chat, let me know if this means anything. Valkyrie Profile.
I love Valkyrie Profile. Yes.
Give us another.
Ooh,
Valkyrie-
actually,
Go ahead,
more.
please.
MVP baseball.
Yep, I'm okay with that one too.
I've never been huge into baseball
And-
games,
and
actually.
guys, if you have not played MVP Baseball 2005, you're missing out because that is probably the best baseball game ever.
What about NFL
Oh
Blitz?
my god, and MLB Power Pros. Oh, from the Wii.
Yeah, like
Little-
that needs to come back too. Like that's still like my favorite career mode in like any sports game.
Oh, it was so good.
I can't believe nobody's mentioned Phantasy Star or Panzer Dragoon yet.
Panzer Dragoon got my parents divorced. So
Are you
know.
serious? Holy shit!
Yeah, when my
what?
parents got divorced, like we had a Sega Saturn with Panzer Dragoon Saga, and they had to sell it, and they had to split the fees.
Wow, that is fucking bonkers, man. Holy
True
shit!
story.
I was not expecting that. I was
I shit you not, like that was part of the divorce.
That is the most oppressive atmosphere in any game I've ever heard. When it's actually busting marriages up. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Finn, what about you, man? Any other games you would love to see dug up from the grave?
I mean, I'm sure I could think of more, but I've said my big ones. There's a shocking amount of RPGs and strategy games that need a second chance, especially with the Switch being what it is.
That seems to be kind of the opinion, right? Is that most of, almost not all, but most of what we've said has been RPGs and strategy games. But I'll tell you what. Before last year's Nintendo Direct, I would have told you Metroid Prime, and now we're getting Metroid Prime back.
I will throw in one more that's not an RPG, and that's the PS2 classic PsyOps, the mind game.
PsyOps.
Oh yeah, good call. Good. Oh, what about Siphon Filter?
Siphon Filter.
Siphon
I
Filter.
hope that there is one.
Or Onimusha. That'd be another really good one.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I should have said on Onimusha. Yeah, definitely.
I think Neo really captured the spirit of Onimusha. But I would love to see another game starring Samanosuke. I mean,
I want another game with Jean Reno.
Yeah, no, I was one of the guys who hated Onimusha 3. I was not a fan.
Onimusha 3 is one of my favorite games ever.
Oh, I couldn't stand it, dude.
It was so good. It was the right amount of dumb.
It was. I don't know about that.
It was the perfect amount of dumb. It was so stupid. I loved it.
PsyOps would have been great. I mean, back in the Midway acquisition when I was over at Warner, we looked at a lot of these franchises. That was one of the ones that kept bubbling up as need to do something with it, but just nothing ever came of it. But man, PsyOps, The Suffering Ties That Bind, games like that are out there that would be really cool if they had another chance to live again.
Condemned would be a good one, man.
Such good stuff.
Condemned.
Condemned. Or, oh God, No One Lives Forever. How has that not been mentioned yet? No One Lives Forever. Fantastic.
I never played that, actually.
I think we need to bring back the Guy game.
Oh, Jesus. The Guy Game TV. I actually played Guy Game once. And
oh God.
It was just none of us had a good time.
The worst trivia game ever.
It was bad. It was real bad. I couldn't believe it was a thing. Man, I mean, this is one of those topics you could talk about literally for hours. I mean, there are so many games that nobody's even mentioned, like Golden Sun, or we talked about Advance Wars. I mean, oh God, I can't go down that rabbit hole again. Guys, I think we had a good night. I think we had a lot of productive talk.
Oh yeah.
It was a fun night.
I want to mention real quick to everybody. Oh shit! Time splitters. Fuck! I gotta stop this. This is a dangerous topic. I have to stop this because let's be real. We're never gonna get 99% of these games we're talking about.
Nope.
And it's just gonna make us really sad. So we should probably stop now.
Yeah, I'm already pouring my 40 ounce. So
I want to remind everybody in chat of a couple things. One, Some of us will be at PAX East. Myself and JT and Maddie will be there for a few days, and Finn will be there as well. I will be. I announced it on Twitter yesterday, but I'll say it again. The panel I'm on is with Susan Arndt and Sarah LaBeouf and our good friend Wout, and it's called "Talking to Dark Souls Fans is the Dark Souls of Talking," and it's gonna be really good. And so that is at PAX East in Boston on Thursday, April the 5th at 3:30 p.m. And I can also tell you guys the panel that I was going to be on, but it got canceled at the last minute. I was so bummed, but it got canceled at the last minute. I was going to be on a panel with Greg Miller and Andrea Renee, which would have been dope as hell. But unfortunately, it got canceled. But we will still get the chance to meet Greg, which is going to be really cool. But that literally got canceled the day I was going to tell you guys about it, and I was like, no, I'm so looking forward to that. And I'm also, as a reminder, on Saturday night at PAX, I will be hosting PAX's game show night that Susan Arndt puts together every year, and I will be co-hosting that with Chris Kohler from Kotaku.
Nice.
Just a reminder that PAX East is in April and not like this weekend.
And it's not this weekend. Yep, it's in April.
So don't go to Boston this weekend.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't. Gents, is there anything else that anybody wants to mention or bring up before we wrap it up?
Okay, I really miss like old school like party style games like Crash Bash, and like I know we get Mario Party every once in a while, but like those games need to come back. They need to.
I mean, Contologics in chat says Diddy Kong Racing.
But like Crash Team Racing was always better.
We can't start this. We can't go down this rabbit hole again, man. We're ending the show now. We can talk about.
It's been a long one.
Yeah. This is so good. But anyway, Matt, thank you. Matt, we missed you. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us again, man. All that good NPD talk.
Fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And
thanks for having me.
Unless anybody has any parting words, this has been episode 104 of SDGC. We really appreciate you guys. We love all you guys, and we hope that you will join us next week. Please do us a favor. Continue to spread the word, retweet our stuff, tell your friends about it, tell Twitter about it, especially leading up to PAX East, because this PAX East is going to be bigger for us than last year's was. We're going to be networking a lot more. We're going to be meeting a lot more people, and we are trying to get the word out. So we would really appreciate that. Be on the lookout for the next appeals court, the next pause for popcorn, and also the advent of the Nerdcast, the NOLA Nerdcast, into the SDGC channel, which completes and ties together the Saki cinematic universe. And don't forget, if hashtag Let Saki Host gets 100 retweets, I'm going to tweet it out after the show. If it gets 100 retweets, I will let Saki host the show.
Saki Bears!
That's my guarantee right there. It'll probably be our last episode ever, but I will do it. So anyway, guys, this has been episode 104, and as always, it's not always poetry, and we don't always agree, but we always keep it real. So until next week, please take care of each other, and we will see you guys later.
Chrono Cross is better than Chrono Trigger. Don't at me.